Welcome, everyone, to today's deep dive. And before we get into it, I just want to say, may God bless your day and your entire week as you listen in with us.
Yes, absolutely. A wonderful week to you.
So usually when we talk about, like, a medical diagnosis, there's this expectation of, absolute precision.
Yeah.
Like you fall, you break your arm, an X-ray shows this jagged white line on a black background, and, well, that's that.
Right, you know exactly what the problem is.
Exactly. The doctor points to it, and it's just this clean, binary reality.
And honestly, that's deeply comforting to the human mind. I mean, we desperately want things to be visible and physical.
Oh, totally.
Because then we can just categorize it and formulate a clear treatment plan.
But so here's the thing. What happens when we try to take an X-ray of human morality?
Yeah, man.
Right, because you step into the landscape of the human condition, and suddenly all that precision just vanishes. We end up in these diagnostic muddy waters, constantly shifting our cultural metrics to try and figure out who is a quote-unquote good person.
And who is a bad person.
Exactly.
And we almost always calibrate those metrics so that, we personally end up on the good side of the line.
We always give ourselves a pass, which is exactly what makes today's deep dive so fascinating.
Oh.
Because we are unpacking this dense, just world-altering theological text.
The Apostle Paul's letter to the Romans.
Yes,
Yeah.
specifically chapters 3.9 through 3.31. And our goal today for you, the listener, is to understand how this ancient document serves as this, well, the ultimate leveler of humanity.
Great leveler, yeah.
We're going to look at how it completely dismantles human pride, and then how it lays out this brilliant, airtight legal framework for unearned grace.
I mean, it is arguably one of the most masterful pieces of argumentation in ancient literature.
It really is. So we are going to explore how a centuries-old letter uses concepts like a silenced cosmic courtroom, an empty hand, and a broken X-ray machine to just perfectly explain the modern human condition.
And to really grasp the brilliance of the solution that this text eventually offers, we first have to really wade into the sheer devastation of the problem Paul is diagnosing.
The bad news before the good news.
Exactly. His opening argument is just uncompromising. He says, absolutely everyone is guilty, no exceptions.
Now, he is addressing a major cultural divide in the first century here,
Yeah.
right? Like the Jewish people and the Gentiles.
Right, exactly. So you have this deep-seated assumption among the Jewish audience of the time that their unique heritage gives them an automatic pass.
Because they had the rules.
Yeah, they had this massive historical advantage. I mean, they actually received God's written law. They had the prophets, the covenants.
Right.
But Paul makes this fascinating distinction. He argues that possessing a standard is not the same thing as actually meeting the standard.
So it's like, just because you own a dictionary doesn't mean you know how to spell.
Oh, that's perfect. Yes, this is the exact mechanism he's pointing to. Because at the final judgment, that background, that heritage, it provides zero insulation. The theologian Francis Schaeffer actually described this universal failing as the great leveler.
The great leveler. I love that phrasing.
Yeah, because when the ultimate standard of perfection is applied, all our little societal classes of better and worse sinners, they just completely collapse. Everyone is on the exact same desperate footing.
And Paul proves this by using like a classic rabbinic teaching method, right?
Yeah.
He strings together these 7 different Old Testament quotes from the Psalms, Isaiah, Ecclesiastes.
Right, creating what theologians call a pearl necklace of depravity.
Which sounds so intense.
It's a very dark pearl necklace. I mean, he's building an irrefutable case using their own scriptures. He's leaving them absolutely nowhere to hide.
But, okay, let's unpack this for a second. Looking at that list of quotes, if Paul is trying to prove total catastrophic human ruin, the list feels strangely, I don't know, limited.
How so?
Well, he focuses almost entirely on speech, like the throat, the tongue, the lips.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to prove humanity is fundamentally broken, why not point to massive historical atrocities? Like, why not start with war or empire building or greed or murder?
It does seem counterintuitive at first glance, doesn't it? I mean, society has never been short on spectacular atrocities.
Sadly, no.
He easily could have listed all those horrific acts, and society's full of them. But he targets communication because the mouth is the X-ray of the heart.
The X-ray of the heart. So explain the mechanics of that. How does a mouth act as an X-ray?
Well, think about what speech actually is. Words don't originate on your lips, right?
Right.
They are formulated in your mind and your heart. They're the overflow of your internal world. And the text uses incredibly brutal, visceral imagery to make this point. Like it describes the human throat as an open grave.
Wow. Like a tomb that's just been left unsealed.
Exactly. And an open grave in the ancient world wasn't just a hole in the ground. It was a source of severe biological contamination, a horrific stench. It represents this devouring abyss.
That is graphic.
It really is. And then the imagery shifts to the tongue, describing it as this tool that flatters people to gain an advantage, but ultimately it deceives and whips them.
And then there's the viper imagery for the lips, which is a very specific image. Why use viper's poison instead of just saying, humans are prone to saying cruel things?
Because of how a viper's venom operates. A viper stores a sac of lethal venom right at the base of its fangs, just ready to be injected the moment it strikes. But there's a vital distinction here. A physical snake's venom can only kill the biological body.
Right.
But the venom of human lips, slander, deceit, manipulation that can destroy relationships, reputations, human souls.
Wow. Yeah.
What Paul is proving here is that the ultimate evil isn't just in broken societal structures. We love to blame governments or education or systems.
Totally. It's always someone else's fault.
But Paul insists the rot is inside us. It's vomiting up from our very core. And our daily words are simply the diagnostic readout of this terminal disease inside our hearts.
Man. So if human speech proves our internal system is completely rotted, it exposes this massive flaw in how we usually try to fix ourselves.
Yes, the natural human reaction.
Which we still see constantly today. We think, oh, I'm behaving badly, so I just need to try harder to be good. I need more rules. We lean heavily on external laws to fix an internal disease.
And that brings us directly to a highly controversial section of this text, which is Paul's view on the actual purpose of the law.
Right.
Because to explain why tightening the rules won't work, we're given this vivid scene of God's ultimate tribunal. Imagine a massive cosmic courtroom.
Okay, so the defense attorneys representing humanity are pacing back and forth. They're talking a big game.
Making every excuse in the book, pointing fingers, rationalizing, saying, hey, I'm not as bad as that guy over there.
Right, but then the law is read aloud. The absolute unbending standard of perfect moral character is presented to the court.
And what happens?
Every single mouth in that courtroom is completely silenced. The defense just instantly collapses because the law doesn't make anyone a sinner. It simply exposes that they already are one.
It strips away all those relative comparisons. You can't say I'm not as bad as the guy in the next cell when the standard is absolute perfection.
So basically, trying to use the law to save yourself is like trying to comb your hair with a mirror.
Oh, I love that analogy. It tracks perfectly with the metaphors used in this textual tradition.
Really?
Yeah, because a mirror's only job is to reflect reality. It shows you the dirt on your face, but it possesses zero power to wash it off.
Right, you don't rub a mirror on your face to get clean.
Exactly. And the text compares the law to a plumb line. A plumb line will definitively prove that a brick wall is crooked.
But the string can't push the wall straight.
Exactly. It's an X-ray. It reveals the tumor, but the machine can't perform the surgery to cut it out. And it's a thermometer. It diagnoses that you have a 104-degree fever, but offering no medicine. Swallowing the thermometer won't cure you.
Martin Luther actually summarizes perfectly when he wrote that the law's function is not to justify us, but to terrify and humble us.
It is designed to shatter that illusion that we can save ourselves through, moral elbow grease.
But I mean, that's a terrifying place to be left. The law leaves humanity diagnosed with a terminal illness we cannot cure, totally humbled, mouths shut in a cosmic courtroom awaiting sentencing.
It's bleak.
We desperately need an outside intervention.
Which brings us to verse 21. It's a pivot so massive that theologians often refer to it as the Acropolis of the Christian faith.
The highest, most fortified point of the entire structure.
Yes. We hit the great "but now" of the text.
Yeah.
But now the righteousness of God has been manifested apart from the law.
Oh, wow.
This is where the text firmly defines what justification actually is, and it does so by defining what it is not.
And this is such a crucial distinction for anyone trying to understand the historical theology here, because the text insists that justification is a legal forensic act in heaven's tribunal. It's a declaration. It firmly rejects the idea of a progressive infusion of grace.
Let's break down the mechanics of infusion, because it's a very common misunderstanding.
Yeah, please do.
Progressive infusion is this idea that God pours a little bit of grace into you, which makes you a little bit better, and then over the course of your lifetime, you gradually become righteous enough to cross the finish line and earn justification.
Right. It confuses the lifelong process of personal growth
Right.
with the legal status of your standing before a judge.
Exactly. The text insists that justification is an instantaneous legal declaration. It happens at the judge's bench, not gradually in your daily habit.
And it goes even further, right? Because
Right.
justification is more than just a mere pardon.
Oh, much more.
Because a pardon is essentially negative. If a governor pardons a criminal, the state is simply saying, you're free to go, we're dropping the punishment,
Right.
you get out of jail, but you aren't exactly invited over to the governor's mansion for dinner.
Right. You're just ushered out the back door and told not to cause any more trouble.
But justification is positive. It means the judge slams the gavel and declares, you are perfectly righteous in the eyes of the law. You are welcomed. You get the dinner invitation.
And to explain the sheer magnitude of how God pulled this off legally and historically, Paul uses 4 distinct languages or metaphors of salvation, pulling vocabulary from 4 different sectors of the ancient world.
Okay, so the first one is the courtroom, which we've been sitting in. This is the forensic justification. Legal acquittal.
Right. But then he shifts to a completely different sector, the slave market.
Oh, interesting.
He uses the Greek word apolytrosis, which translates to redemption. Now, we use redemption casually today, like redeeming a coupon, right?
Right.
But in the 1st century Roman Empire, this was a heavy commercial term.
What did that actually look like in practice for them?
Imagine the brutal reality of an ancient slave market. Human beings in chains standing on an auction block. To achieve apolytrosis, an outside party had to walk into that market and pay a massive, exorbitant ransom price to buy a captive.
Wow.
But crucially, they didn't buy them to own them. They bought them strictly for the purpose of setting them free. Emancipation. Paul is saying humanity was chained to its own internal rot, and God paid the ransom to buy our freedom.
That is powerful. And then he shifts metaphors a 3rd time, moving to the temple.
Yes, the term here is hilasterion, translated as propitiation.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Because this points directly to the mercy seat on the ancient Ark of the Covenant, where a sacrifice was made to satisfy divine wrath.
It does. And this is where modern readers often stumble, because the concept of propitiation can sound deeply uncomfortable today.
I mean, honestly, it sounds a bit pagan to modern ears.
Yeah.
Like throwing a virgin into a volcano to calm a moody, angry deity who's throwing a tantrum in the sky.
I hear that all the time. It's a very common objection. But there is a crucial difference laid out in the text here.
It's okay. What is it?
Well, pagan gods in ancient mythology were capricious, they were moody, unpredictable, and they constantly needed to be appeased by human effort.
Right, you had to sacrifice your crops or wealth to bribe them into a good mood.
Exactly. But the biblical God described here is acting out of holy justice. A good judge cannot simply look at true evil murder, exploitation, and just say, don't worry about it.
Right, justice actually demands a penalty.
Yes, but here is the massive pivot that separates this from every other ancient religion. God himself provides the sacrifice to satisfy his own justice.
Oh, so humanity doesn't bring the sacrifice to appease God. God supplies it.
Right. The cross is where love and justice kiss. His justice demands the penalty be paid, and his love steps in to pay it on our behalf.
That is profound.
The theologian Francis Schaeffer has a beautiful analogy from the text to capture this. He says God's justification is like a young boy caught in a terrifying, violent storm, but he's hidden safely under his father's heavy coat.
Oh, I love that.
The storm of justice is raging, but the boy doesn't feel a drop of rain because the father is taking the absolute brunt of the storm. The coat represents the perfect righteousness of Christ, covering the individual.
And finally, Paul uses a 4th metaphor, the public square.
Yes. Demonstration.
Because the cross wasn't some secret event hidden in a cave somewhere. It was public. It was dealing publicly with sins God had patiently passed over in the past.
He was publicly vindicating his own character.
So if God orchestrated this massive, costly, legal and historical rescue mission, the obvious question for you listening right now is, how do you actually access it? What is our part in this transaction?
The instrument of this justification is faith. Just faith.
But I mean, is faith a good work? Is it something we do to earn points?
It's not at all. The text makes it absolutely clear. Faith has zero merit in itself.
So faith isn't a good work. It's exactly like how Franz Lienhardt describes it in the source material, the empty hand of a beggar.
I love that image.
Right. Reaching out your hand to accept a free meal doesn't mean you earn the meal.
Exactly. The value of the beggar's faith comes entirely from the object being placed into the hand. In this case, Christ.
The value isn't in the hand itself.
Right. And because of this, Paul uses this exact logic to systematically refute three big objections people have.
The first one being, where is boasting?
Excluded, shut out. If grace cost God dearly but is free for us, we have absolutely nothing to brag about.
Which leads to the second objection. Where is Jewish exclusivity, or any ethnic or religious exclusivity?
Destroyed. God is the God of the Gentiles, too. There are no ethnic monopolies on salvation. The ground is completely level.
And that leads to the final objection. People hear this and immediately think, wait, does this destroy the law? Can we just do whatever we want?
The ultimate fear of free grace, but Paul says, no, it upholds the law.
Because faith accomplishes exactly what the law aimed for, perfect righteousness, but couldn't achieve through human effort alone.
Exactly. This is why theologians call this the article by which the church stands or falls. It utterly humbles the sinner, strips away all discrimination, and points all the glory back to God.
It's the ultimate breath of fresh air. So, for you listening, think about your own daily life. If you ever feel crushed by the weight of trying to be good enough, living under the thermometer and the x-ray of the law.
Always coming up short.
Right. This deep dive reveals that the verdict you are desperately looking for has already been declared on your behalf.
The gavel has already fallen. Righteous.
And I want to send you off today with a final, provocative thought to mull over. If, as we learned earlier, our depravity is most clearly revealed by our speech, the throat, the tongue, and lips.
The x-ray of the heart.
Right. If that's the case, how might a person who truly grasps that they are fully legally justified use their words differently tomorrow?
Oh, that's a brilliant reversal.
Could the very x-ray of our brokenness become the primary instrument to broadcast grace? If the courtroom is silenced, maybe our words can finally be used to heal.
A healed heart producing a healing tongue.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes, thank you for listening.
And as we sign off, just a reminder that God blesses all the listeners. Have a wonderful week, and we'll catch you on the next one.
See you next time.